The settlement was dead. That was what everyone said. The pirate attack 6 months ago had left nothing but burned buildings and empty streets. Nobody came here anymore except scavengers looking for scrap metal. Jake Morrison was not a scavenger. He was a medic, though he did not work for the military anymore. Those days were behind him. Now he ran a small clinic in the main colony on Ashenfell, treating miners and farmers for broken bones and fever. It was quiet work, and he liked it that way. But sometimes the colonial governor asked him to check the abandoned settlements, make sure no diseases were spreading from the ruins, make sure the water was not poisoned. Jake always said yes. He owed the governor a favor, and besides, someone had to do it. The settlement of Bright Hollow had been home to 200 people once. Humans and a few dragon families living together, trading and farming. Then the pirates came. They wanted the mining equipment stored in the warehouses. When the settlers refused to hand it over, the pirates burned everything. Jake walked through the ruins slowly. His boots crunched on broken glass. The buildings were just black skeletons now, their walls collapsed. He checked each one carefully, taking samples of the soil and water. Everything seemed dead. Then he heard it, a small sound like a whimper. Jake froze. Animals sometimes lived in ruins like this, wild dogs or cliff cats. He put his hand on the stun weapon at his belt and listened. There it was again, not an animal sound. It was crying, a child crying. He moved toward the sound, his heart beating faster. The crying came from what used to be a home. Half the roof had fallen in. Jake climbed carefully over the rubble. In the corner, hidden behind a fallen cabinet, was a little girl. She was tiny and thin, her clothes torn and dirty. Her hair was long and tangled. But what made Jake stare was her skin. It had a faint shimmer to it, like scales catching the light. Her eyes were too large, too bright, golden eyes that no human child should have. She was a hybrid, half human, half dragon. The girl saw him and screamed. She pressed herself into the corner, shaking. Jake held up his hands. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you, I promise." She did not believe him. She bared her teeth. They were small but sharp. Jake sat down on the rubble, making himself smaller, less threatening. He kept his hands where she could see them. "My name is Jake. I'm a doctor. I help people who are hurt. Are you hurt?" The girl just stared at him with those golden eyes. "You've been here a long time, haven't you?" Jake said. "Since the attack, 6 months. That's a very long time to be alone." Something flickered in her eyes. Pain, maybe? Or memory? Jake reached slowly into his bag. The girl tensed, ready to run. He pulled out a ration bar and unwrapped it. The smell of synthetic chocolate filled the air. He broke off half and held it out. "Are you hungry?" The girl looked at the food. Her stomach made a loud growling sound. She was starving, but she still did not move. Jake set the piece of ration bar on the ground between them. Then he ate his own half slowly, showing her it was safe. When he finished, he stood up carefully. "I'm going to leave this here for you," he said. "And I'm going to check the other buildings. I'll be back in a little while." He walked away, even though every instinct told him to grab the child and carry her to safety. But he knew better. Scared children needed time. They needed to choose to trust. Jake spent an hour checking the rest of the settlement. When he came back, the ration bar was gone. The girl was still in her corner watching him. This time, he sat closer. He pulled out another ration bar and his canteen of water. He set them both on the ground and slid them toward her. "You need to drink too," he said, "not just eat." She grabbed the items quickly and retreated to her corner. She drank the water so fast she choked. Then she ate the ration bar in 4 big bites. "When did you last eat?" Jake asked. She did not answer. "Can you talk?" She nodded slowly. "What's your name?" For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, in a voice like dry leaves, she whispered, Kyra. Kara, Jake repeated. That's a pretty name. Kyra, how long have you been hiding here? Since the fire, she said. Her voice was so quiet he could barely hear it. That was 6 months ago. You've been alone all this time? She nodded. Jake felt his chest tighten. 6 months. This child had survived 6 months in the ruins, alone. She could not be more than 8 years old. Why didn't you go to the main colony? Why didn't you call for help? Kara looked down at her hands. Her fingers had tiny scales along the knuckles. Everyone thinks I'm dead, she whispered. Mama thinks I'm dead. She saw our house explode. She saw the fire. Your mother is alive. Kyra nodded, tears running down her face. She's alive. But she thinks I died and I can't go to her. I can't. Why not? Because I hid. Kara's voice broke. The pirates came and Mama told me to hide in the cellar. She went to fight them. I heard the explosions. I heard people screaming. And I just hid like a baby. I didn't help. I didn't fight. I just hid in the dark and cried. She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. Jake moved closer and sat beside her. He did not touch her, not yet. Kyra, listen to me. You were supposed to hide. Your mother told you to hide because that was the smart thing to do. You were a child. You are a child. You did exactly what you should have done. But Mama is a warrior. She's brave and strong. And I'm just... You survived 6 months alone, Jake said firmly. Do you know how brave that is? Do you know how strong you have to be to do that? Kyra looked at him with those golden eyes still full of tears. Your mother thinks you're dead, Jake said. And I bet she misses you every single day. I bet she would give anything to see you again. Really? Really? And I think we should go tell her that you're alive. What do you think? Kara was quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, I'm scared. I know, Jake said. But you don't have to be scared alone anymore. I'll help you. We'll do this together. Kara looked at him for a long moment. Then slowly she reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were cold and small in his. Okay, she whispered. Jake squeezed her hand gently. Okay, let's go home. The dragon homeland of Pyrestone was a place of fire and stone. Massive cliffs rose from the ground like teeth, and caves dotted the mountainsides. Smoke drifted from volcanic vents in the valleys. It was beautiful in a dangerous way, like everything about the dragon clans. Thornessa stood at the edge of her clan's territory, looking out over the empty sky. She came here every day at sunset to the same spot. This was where she had last seen her daughter alive. This was where she had told Kara to run, to hide, to survive. She had failed. The wind blew hot across the rocks, but Thornessa felt cold inside. Her scales, deep crimson like old blood, seemed dull now. She had not hunted in weeks. She had not sung with the clan. She simply existed, moving through each day like a ghost. Thornessa! She turned. Elder Vex approached slowly, his ancient scales the color of storm clouds. He was one of the oldest dragons in the clan and one of the wisest. He had tried many times to speak with her about her grief. Elder, Thornessa said flatly. You cannot keep doing this to yourself, Vex said. His voice was gentle but firm. Kyra would not want you to waste away. Kyra is dead. The words tasted like ash in Thornessa's mouth. She died because I could not protect her, because I chose to fight instead of staying with her. You fought to save everyone in the settlement, Vex reminded her. You delayed the pirates long enough for others to escape. You are a warrior, Thornessa. You did what warriors do. And my daughter died because of it. Vex sighed. You do not know that she suffered. The explosion was quick. She felt no pain. Thornessa closed her eyes. She had told herself this lie 1,000 times, but she still saw the flames in her dreams. Still heard the sound of the building collapsing. "The clan needs you," Vex said. "We are negotiating new treaties with the human colonists. Your voice would be valuable." "I have no voice," Thornessa said. "I have nothing." Vex looked sad, but said nothing more. He left her alone with her grief, as he always did. The sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Thornessa watched until the last light faded. Then she spread her wings and flew back to her cave. She did not sleep well anymore. She never did. 3 days later, everything changed. Thornessa was in the communal caves when the alert came. A human had arrived at the border, requesting an audience with her specifically. The guards were suspicious. Humans rarely came to Pyrestone alone and never to seek out individual dragons. "Send him away," Thornessa said without interest. "He says it is about your daughter," the guard said carefully. Thornessa's head snapped up. Her eyes blazed with sudden fire. "What did you say?" "The human says he has information about Kara. He insists on speaking only to you." Rage and hope warred inside Thornessa's chest. This was cruel. This was some kind of trick or scam. Humans did not care about dead dragon children. Why would they? But what if it was not a trick? What if there was something she did not know? "Bring him to the judgment circle," Thornessa said, her voice hard as stone. "But keep him under guard. If this is a game, he will regret it." The judgment circle was an open space surrounded by tall rocks. It was where the clan settled disputes and heard petitions. When Thornessa arrived, she found a human man waiting. He was older than she expected, with gray in his hair. He wore simple clothes and carried a medical bag. He did not look dangerous, but Thornessa knew better than to judge by appearances. Elder Vex was there too, along with several other dragons. They formed a half-circle around the human, watching him carefully. The man did not look afraid. He stood calmly, his hands visible and empty. "You asked to see me," Thornessa said. Her voice came out as a growl. "Speak quickly. My patience is thin." "My name is Jake Morrison," the man said. "I was a medic in the Colonial Marines. Now I run a clinic on Ashenfell. 3 days ago, I was checking the ruins of Bright Hollow Settlement." Thornessa's claws dug into the stone beneath her feet. Bright Hollow, where Kara had died. "I found someone there," Jake continued. "A child. She had been living in the ruins for 6 months, surviving alone." "Impossible," Vex said. "We searched those ruins for weeks. We found no survivors." "She was hiding," Jake said. "She was very good at hiding. And she was very scared." Thornessa's heart was beating so hard it hurt. "What does this have to do with my daughter?" Jake looked directly at her. His eyes were kind, which somehow made everything worse. "The child I found is half dragon, half human. She has golden eyes and scales on her hands and arms. She told me her name is Kara." The world stopped. Thornessa could not breathe, could not think. The words made no sense. Kara was dead. She had to be dead. The explosion had destroyed everything. "You lie," Thornessa hissed, but her voice shook. "I'm not lying," Jake said steadily. "Your daughter is alive. She's been alone and scared for 6 months, but she's alive. I've been taking care of her, helping her recover. She's safe." "Prove it," Elder Vex demanded. "Anyone could make up such a story. Give us proof." Jake reached into his bag slowly, carefully. He pulled out a small object and held it up. It was a pendant made of carved dragon bone and human silver, woven together in an intricate pattern. Thornessa's legs went weak. She knew that pendant. She had made it herself when Kyra was born, a symbol of her daughter's mixed heritage. Kyra had worn it every day of her life. "Where did you get that?" Thornessa whispered. "Kara gave it to me," Jake said. "She wanted you to know it was really her. She said you would recognize it." Thornessa's vision blurred with tears. her daughter, her baby, alive. But then the hope turned to suspicion. Why should I believe you? You could have taken that from her body. You could have stolen it from the ruins. I could have, Jake agreed, but I didn't. Thornessa, your daughter is alive and she wants to see you. But she's also terrified. She thinks you'll be angry with her for hiding. She thinks she failed you because she didn't fight. Failed me? Thornessa's voice cracked. She was a child. I told her to hide. I know. I told her the same thing. But she's been alone for 6 months, believing she was a coward, believing you would be ashamed of her. That's why she didn't come forward sooner. Thornessa felt like her chest was being crushed. Her daughter, alive but broken, alone and afraid while Thornessa had been here, mourning. I want to see her, Thornessa said. Now. Take me to her now. I will, Jake said. But first, I need you to understand something. Kyra has been through trauma. She's not the same child you remember. She's going to need time. She's going to need patience. She is my daughter, Thornessa said fiercely. I will give her whatever she needs. Jake nodded. Then we leave tomorrow. My ship is waiting at the border. We'll fly back to Ashenfell together, and you can see Kara again. Elder Vex stepped forward. You are either a very brave human or a very foolish one. If you are lying to Thornessa, if this is some cruel trick, there will be no place in the galaxy where you can hide from dragon justice. I understand, Jake said. But I'm not lying. I'm just a man who found a scared little girl and wants to bring her home to her mother. Thornessa looked at this human, this stranger who claimed to have saved her daughter's life. She wanted to believe him so badly it hurt, but she was also terrified, terrified that it was not real, terrified that she would lose Kyra all over again. Tomorrow, she said, her voice barely controlled. We leave at dawn. And human, if you have given me false hope, I will make you wish you had never been born. Jake met her eyes without flinching. I understand, but I promise you, Thornessa, your daughter is waiting for you, and she needs you. For the first time in 6 months, Thornessa allowed herself to hope. The transport ship was small but well-maintained. Captain Lisa Grant had been flying cargo and passengers between colonies for 15 years, and she knew how to handle her vessel. She also knew how to handle unusual situations, which was good. Because a grieving dragon mother and a human medic with impossible news definitely counted as unusual. Thornessa barely fit in the passenger compartment. She had folded her wings tight against her body and curled her tail around her feet, but she still took up most of the available space. Jake sat across from her, giving her as much room as possible. They had been in space for 2 hours, and Thornessa had not spoken a single word. Jake watched her carefully. He had seen grief before, plenty of it during his military days. But this was different. This was hope, mixed with terror, and it made Thornessa look almost fragile, despite her size and strength. We'll reach Ashenfell in about 6 hours, Jake said quietly. Lisa is taking the fast route. Thornessa's golden eyes flicked to him, then away. She said nothing. Jake leaned forward slightly. I know you're scared. That's normal. But I want you to know that Kara is doing okay. She's eating regularly now. She's sleeping better. She's healing. You said she was traumatized, Thornessa said. Her voice was rough, like she had been swallowing sand. She is, Jake admitted. But trauma can heal with time and support. I've been working with her every day, talking to her, helping her understand that what happened wasn't her fault. Of course it wasn't her fault, Thornessa snapped. She was 8 years old. How could any of it be her fault? She doesn't see it that way, Jake said. In her mind, she abandoned you. She hid while you fought. She survived while others died. That guilt has been eating at her for 6 months. Thornessa closed her eyes. When she opened them again, tears glistened there. I told her to hide. I commanded her to run to the cellar and stay there no matter what she heard. She was obeying me. I know, and I've told her that. But knowing something in your head and believing it in your heart are two different things. Thornessa was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "How did she survive? 6 months alone in the ruins? She's just a child. How?" Jake pulled out his data pad and brought up his notes. "From what I can piece together, she stayed in the cellar for the first few days. There was emergency water and some rations stored down there. When those ran out, she started scavenging. The settlement had food stores that weren't completely destroyed. She found sealed packages, canned goods, things the fire didn't reach. And water? There's a stream that runs through Bright Hollow. She drank from that. Got sick a few times probably, but her hybrid constitution helped her recover." Thornessa shook her head slowly. She must have been so afraid, so alone. "She was," Jake said honestly, "but she's also incredibly strong, stronger than she knows." "She gets that from her father," Thornessa said softly. "He was human, a colonist named Danny Kim. He died when Kyra was 4. Fever took him. We lived in Bright Hollow together, raising Kyra between both our cultures." Jake nodded. He had suspected something like that. "Kyra mentioned him once. She said he used to sing to her." A small, sad smile crossed Thornessa's face. "He had a terrible voice, but she loved it anyway." They sat in silence for a while. The hum of the ship's engines filled the space between them. "Why did you do this?" Thornessa asked suddenly. "Why did you help her?" "You could have just reported finding a survivor and let the authorities handle it. Why take personal responsibility?" Jake thought about that. "When I found Kara, she was so scared and alone. She reminded me of why I became a medic in the first place, not to fight wars or follow orders, but to help people who are hurting. She needed help, and I was there. It's as simple as that." "Nothing is ever that simple." "Maybe not," Jake admitted. "But sometimes we make it too complicated. I saw a child who needed care, and I had the ability to give it. The fact that she's half dragon didn't matter. The politics and history between our species didn't matter. She was just a scared little girl who needed someone to tell her she was going to be okay." Thornessa studied him with those intense, golden eyes. "You risked a lot by bringing her to your clinic instead of reporting her immediately. Some people would call that kidnapping. Some people would be wrong," Jake said calmly. "I documented everything. I sent reports to the colonial authorities. But I also knew that Kyra needed stability and time before being thrown into bureaucracy and medical examinations. She needed to feel safe first." "And did she? Feel safe with you?" "Eventually, yes. It took time. The first week she barely spoke. She would only eat if I left the food and walked away. But slowly she started to trust me, started to believe that I wasn't going to hurt her or abandon her." Thornessa's claws scraped against the metal floor. "I should have been there. I should have searched longer, harder." "You searched for weeks," Jake said. "Everyone did." "Kyra told me she heard the search parties. She heard your voice calling for her, but she was too scared to answer. She had convinced herself that you would be ashamed of her, that you wouldn't want a daughter who had hidden like a coward." "That's insane," Thornessa growled. "I would never think that. Never." "I know. But fear and trauma don't follow logic. They twist our thoughts, make us believe terrible things about ourselves." Thornessa was quiet again. When she spoke next, her voice was barely a whisper. "What if she doesn't want to see me? What if she's angry that I left her there?" "She's not angry," Jake said firmly. "She's terrified that you'll reject her, but she's not angry. All she wants is to see you again, to know that you still love her." "Of course I still love her. She's my daughter. She's my everything." "Then tell her that. When you see her, tell her exactly that." The ship hummed around them. Hours passed. Jake dozed for a while, trusting Lisa to wake them when they approached Ashenfell. When he opened his eyes, he found Thornessa staring out the small viewport at the stars. "I've been thinking," Thornessa said without looking at him. About what comes after? After the reunion? Yes. Kara has been living with you for days now. She knows you, trusts you. I'm a stranger to her now in some ways. 6 months is a long time in a child's life. You're her mother, Jake said. That doesn't change. But everything else has changed. She's different now. I'm different now. Our home is gone. Danny is gone. How do we go back to normal when nothing is normal anymore? Jake leaned forward. You don't go back. You can't. But you can go forward. You can build something new. It won't be the same as before, but it can still be good. It can still be a family. I don't know how to help her heal from this. Neither do I, not completely. But we'll figure it out together. I'm not going to just drop her off and disappear. I want to help, if you'll let me. Thornessa finally looked at him. Why? You've already done so much. Because she matters, Jake said simply. And because I think maybe I can make a difference. I couldn't save everyone during the war. I couldn't fix all the broken things I saw. But maybe I can help one little girl and her mother find their way back to each other. That feels worth doing. For the first time since they had met, Thornessa's expression softened. You're a good man, Jake Morrison. Kyra is lucky you found her. I think I'm the lucky one, Jake said. She's pretty amazing, your daughter. You should be proud of her. I am, Thornessa said. I always have been. Captain Lisa's voice came over the intercom. We're approaching Ashenfell. Touchdown in 30 minutes. Thornessa's whole body tensed. Her scales rippled with nervous energy. Jake stood and offered his hand. Ready? Thornessa looked at his hand for a moment, then carefully placed one clawed finger against his palm. It was as close to a handshake as their different sizes would allow. Ready, she said, but her voice shook with emotion. The ship began its descent toward Ashenfell, carrying a mother toward the daughter she thought she had lost forever. The clinic was quiet when they arrived. Jake had made sure of that. He had cleared his schedule, sent his assistant home early, and locked the front door. This reunion needed privacy. It needed time and space without interruptions. Kyra sat in the small room at the back of the clinic that had become hers over the past week. It had a bed, a window that looked out over the colony, and shelves Jake had filled with books and games. Kyra had made it her safe place, her hiding spot when the world felt too big and scary. Now she sat on the edge of the bed, her small hands twisted together in her lap. She wore clean clothes that Jake had bought for her. Her hair was washed and braided. She looked like a normal 8-year-old girl, except for the golden eyes and the shimmer of scales on her skin. Dr. Helen Wade sat in a chair nearby. She was a counselor who worked with traumatized children, and she had been helping Kyra for the past few days. Helen was patient and kind, never pushing Kyra to talk about things before she was ready. How are you feeling? Helen asked gently. Scared, Kyra whispered. That's okay. It's normal to be scared. What if she doesn't want me anymore? What if she thinks I'm bad for hiding? Jake told you what your mother said, didn't he? She's not angry. She just wants to see you. Kyra nodded, but she still looked terrified. I know what Jake said, but what if he's wrong? What if Mama looks at me and sees a coward? Do you think you're a coward? Helen asked. Kyra was quiet for a long moment. I used to, but Jake says I'm brave for surviving. He says hiding was the smart thing to do. Jake is right, and I think when your mother sees you, she's going to see the same thing. She's going to see her strong, brave daughter who survived something terrible. The sound of the front door opening made them both look up. Kyra's whole body went rigid. Her breathing got faster. They're here, Helen said softly. Do you want me to stay with you? Kyra shook her head. No, I need to do this alone. You're very brave, Kyra. Remember that. Helen squeezed Kyra's shoulder gently. then left the room, closing the door behind her. Kyra sat on the bed, listening. She could hear voices in the front room. Jake's calm, steady voice, and another voice, deeper and rougher, a voice she had heard in her dreams every night for 6 months. Her mother's voice. Tears filled Kyra's eyes. She wanted to run out there. She wanted to hide under the bed. She wanted to do both things at once, and her body didn't know which to choose. Then she heard footsteps, coming closer. The door opened slowly. Thornessa had to crouch to fit through the doorway. Even crouched, she seemed enormous. Her crimson scales caught the light from the window. Her golden eyes, so much like Kyra's own, were wide and shining with tears. For a moment, neither of them moved. They just stared at each other. Kyra saw that her mother looked different, thinner, sadder. There were new scars on her scales that Kyra didn't remember. 6 months had changed her, too. "Kara," Thornessa whispered. Her voice broke on the name. "Mama," Kara said, and suddenly she was crying. Not quiet tears, but big sobbing gasps that shook her whole body. Thornessa moved forward, but then stopped herself. Kyra could see her mother fighting every instinct to rush forward and grab her. But Thornessa remembered what Jake had said. She remembered to be patient, to let Kara choose. "I'm sorry," Kara sobbed. "I'm so sorry, Mama. I hid. You told me to hide, and I did. And then everyone was screaming, and there was fire. And I just stayed in the cellar like a baby. I didn't help. I didn't fight. I just hid and cried, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Oh, my little flame," Thornessa said, her own tears falling now. "You have nothing to be sorry for. Nothing. But I left you. I survived, and you thought I was dead, and you were sad, and it's all my fault." "No." Thornessa's voice was firm despite the tears. "You did exactly what I told you to do. You obeyed me. You survived. That's what I wanted. That's all I ever wanted." "But I was scared," Kara whispered. "Of course you were scared. I was scared, too." "Being scared doesn't make you a coward, Kara. It makes you smart. It makes you alive." Kara looked at her mother through her tears. "You're not ashamed of me?" "Ashamed?" Thornessa's voice rose with emotion. "I am proud of you, so incredibly proud. You survived 6 months alone. 6 months. Do you know how strong that makes you? Do you know how brave?" "Jake said the same thing." "Jake is a wise man." They stared at each other again. The space between them felt like a canyon, even though it was only a few feet. "Can I hug you?" Thornessa asked, her voice small and uncertain. "Please, my little flame. Can I hold you?" Kara didn't answer with words. She launched herself off the bed and ran to her mother. Thornessa caught her gently, carefully, like Kyra was made of glass. She wrapped her arms around her daughter and pulled her close. Her wings came up to shield them both, creating a private world of crimson scales and warmth. Kyra pressed her face against her mother's chest and cried. She cried for all the fear and loneliness of the past 6 months. She cried for her lost home and her lost father. She cried for everything that had changed and everything that had been taken from her. And Thornessa cried too, holding her daughter close and whispering words of love and comfort in the old dragon tongue. Outside the room, Jake and Helen stood quietly. They could hear the crying, and they both had tears in their own eyes. "You did a good thing," Helen said softly. "We're not done yet," Jake replied. "This is just the beginning. They both have a long road ahead of them." "But they'll walk it together now. That makes all the difference." Inside the room, the crying slowly quieted. Thornessa pulled back just enough to look at her daughter's face. She wiped away Kara's tears with one gentle claw. "I thought I lost you," Thornessa said. "Every day for 6 months I thought you were gone, and now you're here. You're real. You're alive." "I'm sorry I didn't come sooner," Kyra said. "I wanted to. I heard you calling for me, but I was too scared." "I understand." and I forgive you. There's nothing to forgive, really, but if you need to hear it, then I forgive you. Kyra nodded, fresh tears sliding down her cheeks. I missed you so much. I missed you too, every single moment of every single day. They held each other again, and this time it felt less desperate, more like coming home. After a while, Kyra pulled back and looked at her mother seriously. Jake has been taking care of me. He's been really nice. He gave me food and a bed, and he talks to me about things. He helped me understand that I wasn't bad for hiding. I know, Thornessa said. He told me everything on the journey here. He's a good man. I owe him a debt I can never fully repay. He said you could come visit me here, and that Helen could keep helping me talk about the scary things. Is that okay? Thornessa nodded. Whatever you need, my little flame. We'll do this at your pace. There's no rush. Can we go home? To Pyrestone? Eventually, yes, when you're ready, but we don't have to decide that today. Our house in Bright Hollow is gone, Kyra said quietly. I saw it. It's all burned. I know, but we'll make a new home, somewhere safe, somewhere you feel happy. Kyra thought about that. Can Jake visit us? Wherever we go? Thornessa smiled through her tears. Of course. Jake is family now. He brought you back to me. That makes him kin, always. There was a soft knock on the door. Jake peeked in. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to check if anyone needs anything. Water? Food? Kyra looked at her mother, then back at Jake. Can we all eat together? You and Mama and me? Jake smiled. I think that's a great idea. I'll make some tea and get some food ready. Take your time. Come out when you're ready. He closed the door gently. Thornessa looked down at her daughter. Are you ready to go out there? Kyra took a deep breath. I think so, as long as you stay with me. I'm not going anywhere, Thornessa promised. Never again. You're stuck with me now. Kyra giggled. It was a small sound, fragile like broken glass, but it was real. It was the first time Thornessa had heard her daughter laugh in 6 months. I love you, Mama, Kyra said. I love you too, my little flame, more than all the stars in the sky. They stood up together, Kyra's small hand wrapped around one of her mother's claws. Together they walked out of the room and toward the future, whatever it might hold. 3 months had passed since the reunion, and Ashenfell Colony looked different in the morning light. The sun rose over the eastern mountains, painting the buildings in shades of gold and orange. In the town square, something unusual was happening. Human children and dragon hatchlings were playing together. It was a sight that would have been impossible a year ago. Dragons and humans had lived near each other for years, but they had kept their distance. Polite, but separate. The pirate attack on Bright Hollow had made things worse, creating fear and suspicion on both sides. But things were changing now. Jake stood at the edge of the square, watching the children play. A human boy was teaching a young dragon how to kick a ball. 2 human girls were racing against a dragon hatchling, laughing as the dragon won easily with his longer legs. And in the middle of it all was Kyra. She looked healthier now. Her cheeks had color in them. Her scales shimmered brightly in the sunlight. She was laughing as she played a game with both human and dragon children, acting as a bridge between the 2 groups without even realizing it. She looks happy, a voice said beside him. Jake turned to see Thornessa approaching. She had to walk carefully through the colony streets to avoid damaging buildings with her size, but she managed it with grace. Over the past 3 months, she had become a familiar sight in Ashenfell. She does, Jake agreed. How are you doing? Better, Thornessa said. Every day is a little easier. Every day I wake up and remember that she's alive, and it feels like a gift. They watched Kyra together for a moment. Elder Vex sent another message, Thornessa said. The dragon clans want to formalize the cultural exchange program. They're impressed with what we've started here. Jake smiled. That's good news. How many dragon families are interested in participating? 12 so far. They want to send their children here to learn alongside human children, and some human families have expressed interest in visiting Pyrestone. It had started small, just an idea that grew from watching Kyra interact with both species. Jake had suggested it to Thornessa, and she had brought it to the clan elders, a formal program where dragon and human children could learn from each other, play together, and build friendships that might prevent future conflicts. The response had been overwhelming. I never thought I'd see this, Thornessa said softly. Dragons and humans, working together like this, building something better. It almost didn't happen, Jake reminded her. If we hadn't found Kyra, if she hadn't been brave enough to come forward, if you hadn't been kind enough to help her, Thornessa added. Don't discount your role in this, Jake. You started everything by choosing compassion over indifference. Jake felt his cheeks warm. I just did what anyone would do. No, Thornessa said firmly. Most people would have reported finding a survivor and moved on. You stayed, you cared, you fought for her healing even when it was difficult. That's not common. That's exceptional. Before Jake could respond, Kara ran over to them. Her face was flushed with exercise and happiness. Mama Jake, look what I learned! She held up a small carved figure. It was a dragon, made from wood, with careful details in the scales and wings. Did you make that? Jake asked, impressed. Mr. Chen taught me. He's a woodcarver. He said I have good hands for it because of my scales. They help me feel the grain in the wood. Thornessa knelt down to examine the carving more closely. This is beautiful work, little flame. I'm proud of you. Kyra beamed. I want to make more. Mr. Chen said he'll teach me to carve human figures too. Then I can make both kinds. That sounds wonderful, Thornessa said. A human woman approached them. She was older, with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a bun. Jake recognized her as Mrs. Paula Grant, the colony's education coordinator and Lisa's mother. Excuse me, Paula said. Jake, Thornessa, do you have a moment? Of course, Jake said. Paula smiled at Kara. Sweetheart, why don't you go back to your friends? I need to talk to the grown-ups for a minute. Kara nodded and ran back to the other children. Once she was out of earshot, Paula's expression turned serious. I wanted to update you on the school proposal. The Colonial Council approved it this morning. Jake felt his heart lift. They did? Yes. We'll be opening the first integrated school next month. Human and dragon children learning together with teachers from both species. We're calling it the Bright Hollow Academy, in memory of what was lost and in hope of what we're building. Thornessa's eyes glistened. That's a perfect name. We want Kara to be one of the first students, Paula continued. If that's all right with you, Thornessa, she's become a symbol of what's possible when our species work together. I'll ask her, Thornessa said. But I think she'll be excited. She loves learning. Paula nodded. We're also hoping you'll both be part of the advisory board. Jake, your medical expertise and experience with trauma will be invaluable. And Thornessa, we need dragon perspective on the curriculum and cultural education. I'd be honored, Jake said. As would I, Thornessa agreed. Paula smiled. Good. There's one more thing. The council wants to hold a ceremony next week. They're going to officially recognize Jake as a kin friend of the dragon clans and award him the colony's highest civilian honor for his service to both species. Jake felt his face flush. That's not necessary. I didn't do this for recognition. We know, Paula said. That's exactly why you deserve it. After Paula left, Jake and Thornessa stood in comfortable silence, watching the children play. Have you thought about what comes next? Thornessa asked. For you, I mean. You've spent 3 months helping Kyra and me, helping build these bridges. But what about your own life, your own dreams? Jake considered the question. Honestly, this feels like exactly where I'm supposed to be. During the war, I saw so much destruction, so much hatred between species. I thought that's just how things were. But now I'm seeing something different. I'm seeing hope, and I want to be part of that. You've given up a lot, Thornessa pointed out. Your clinic is busier because you're treating dragon patients now. You spend your evenings in meetings about the cultural exchange. You barely have time for yourself. I have enough time, Jake said. And I'm not giving anything up. I'm gaining something. Purpose, community, friends. Thornessa's expression softened. Friends. Yes, that's what we are, aren't we? I'd like to think so. In dragon culture, there's a ceremony, Thornessa said. It's called the Flame Bond. It's performed when someone outside the clan has proven themselves worthy of being considered family, not by blood but by choice and deed. I spoke with Elder Vex about performing the ceremony for you. Jake felt touched. I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept. Say you'll let my clan honor you the way you deserve. I will. Thank you, Thornessa. That means more than you know. Kara ran back over, this time with 2 other children. One was a human girl named Sophie, and the other was a young dragon named Frost. Jake, can we use the clinic's courtyard for a game? Kara asked. We promised to be careful. What kind of game? We're practicing rescue drills, Sophie explained. Like what real emergency teams do. Kyra said you used to be a rescue medic, so we thought you could teach us. Jake looked at the 3 eager faces and couldn't help but smile. All right. Let me get some supplies and I'll show you some basic techniques, but we're doing this safely, understand? All 3 children nodded enthusiastically. As they ran ahead toward the clinic, Thornessa chuckled. They're going to keep you very busy. Good, Jake said. Busy is good. They walked together through the colony, past buildings where humans and dragons were working side by side, past shops where both species traded goods, past the construction site where the new school was being built. Everywhere Jake looked, he saw the future taking shape. It wasn't perfect. There were still misunderstandings and difficulties. Some humans were still suspicious of dragons. Some dragons still didn't trust humans. Change was slow and hard, but it was happening, and it had started with one scared little girl in the ruins, and one man who chose to help her. That evening, as the sun set over Ashenfell, Jake stood on the clinic's roof. He could see the dragon territories in the distance, their mountains dark against the orange sky. He could see the colony spreading out below him, lights beginning to glow in windows. Somewhere down there, Kyra was safe with her mother, probably getting ready for bed. Tomorrow, she would wake up and play with her friends. She would carve wood with Mr. Chen. She would laugh and learn and grow. She would heal. They all would. Jake thought about the long road that had brought him here. The war, the loss, the years of wondering if anything he did really mattered. And now he knew. It did matter. Every small act of kindness mattered. Every choice to help, instead of walking away, mattered. He had saved one life, and that one life had changed everything. The stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Jake smiled and whispered a promise to them, to himself, and to the future. We're going to build something beautiful here. Something worth protecting. Not with weapons or walls, but with understanding and compassion. One friendship at a time, one child at a time, one choice at a time. And deep in his heart, Jake knew it was true. The work was just beginning, but the foundation was solid. Built on hope, strengthened by love, and made possible by the simple choice to care for someone who needed help. That was humanity's greatest strength. Not technology or military might, but the courage to extend a hand to someone different, someone scared, someone lost, and in doing so, to find themselves. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.